There it is, live Bitcoin trading action happening right now. I might get in trouble for this, actually, now that I think about it. I don't know if I've signed some sort of agreement or accepted some sort of terms of use not to share this information, but I will tell you that bitstamp.net, which is where we're getting this information right now, this is their information. So one of the things that's interesting and also somewhat difficult about the Bitcoin marketplace is that the price of Bitcoin on one exchange versus another exchange, they're different. And so you can see some wild fluctuations from time to time because of the fact that, there are guys out there, and gals probably, who are running around and buying Bitcoins on one exchange and then running and selling them on another exchange because the price is just higher. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. But today, the purpose of this particular segment is to really talk about, to try to understand what's going on to at least a certain degree. Now, I'm no blockchain expert, I'm no Bitcoin expert, but people have been asking me about this long enough that it got to a point where I had to basically say, you know what, I've got to go figure out when this thing's going to tank. That's the reason I started investigating Bitcoin and blockchain technologies and cryptocurrencies, is because I was like, you know what, I've got to figure out when this thing is going to crash so that I can tell people when they need to start looking at maybe exiting some of this stuff. And the more and more I started looking into it, and the more and more I started researching, and the more and more I started looking at the applications, and of course the comparison, because a new product has to be compared to the old product in order to figure out what's better, and what is ultimately going to survive and thrive when it comes down to it. So right off the bat, we know one thing for certain. The market will tell us that. It tells us that right at this instant. If you look at the United States dollar or versus a Bitcoin, which one is worth more? Well, Bitcoin is worth, as we speak, on this website, it's worth $18,200. So I think that it's pretty obvious the market is telling us that the Bitcoin is already worth way more than a dollar. Now the difference is, and this is the thing that's really tough with the different cryptocurrencies, is that there aren't that many Bitcoins. Right now there's only 16 to 17 million Bitcoins that exist, and only 21 million will exist in the long run. That's the maximum. So there is a limited supply, and that's one of the reasons why Bitcoin has gone much higher than a lot of these other cryptocurrencies, like Ripple, for example, where there's billions, tens of billions of Ripple coins that exist. Some of the other ones too that are really cool, and I'm going to tell you about basically today all the cryptocurrencies that I own, ones that I plan on buying more of, what I think this is and how it will look, and how it compares to essentially what we have today. So if you have a comment or a question or something like that, you want to jump in, feel free to do so. This is live and I can get to you, I can see your comments. So currently, clearly, Bitcoin is worth more than a dollar. The market tells us that. You can look at the price action, you can see it. The question is why? Why is Bitcoin worth so much money? What is this need that it is filling? Well, there's two reasons. Number one, the concept is actually really good. It's actually very similar to the way we use money now, but it's more efficient. It's better. The second one is what I'm going to start with, which is marketing. Bitcoin is being marketed right now with billions of dollars, but they're not paying anything. They're getting billions of dollars worth of advertising, but they're not spending any money. You watch CNBC, you watch the news, you go on social media. What do you see? Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. This is one of the reasons why the Bitcoin currency is going up so much, and why I think it will continue to for a long time, because it's the benchmark. It's the first generation. It's the first one on the beach. It's there. People know about it. People feel like it's the safest. Even when they created Litecoin, which is supposed to be the silver to Bitcoin being the gold, they sort of gave that to Bitcoin right off the bat. This is going to be the silver to your gold. As far as technology is concerned, there are better cryptocurrencies. There are more efficient ones. There are ones that have more applications than Bitcoin, for sure. But the limited supply, the insane amount of marketing that's being done, this thing is going higher. Now, I believe, personally, that we're going to see a Christmas trade in Bitcoin, and that's what I'm really interested in cashing in on, and that's the trade I'm going to explain to you in just a second. How money works now is something that we need to understand versus how money might work in the future. How money works right now is you look in your bank account and you see there's $10,000 there. And you log in tomorrow and you see there's $10,000 there. And then when your interest comes in, you log in and you see in your bank account there's $10,012 there. I got my $12 interest, and you can look in there and you can see it and it's there. And that feels very safe and that feels very comfortable. Meanwhile, in the background, the bank is doing all sorts of things with your money. They're hedging this over here, they're trading over here, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing this. They're taking your money, they're going to make you money, and then they're paying you this teeny tiny little bit for giving it to them, right? That's what's happening. But you feel good about it because you know when you log in and you go look at your bank account, you're going to see that same amount of money there or higher. It's safe. That's what you like about it. And that's what we've all kind of been lulled to sleep on. If it were the case that the bank were required, or if they chose, to actually show you what the money was worth. In other words, they didn't just say, hey, you have $10,000 in your savings account. They actually showed you this is what your $10,000 will buy you today. In other words, inflation adjusted, price adjusted, in comparison to what's happening in the world, then it would be very scary, right? Because then you would look in there and you wouldn't see 10,000. You'd see what is it worth today. It might be worth 9,000, it might be worth 11,000, it might be worth 20,000, it might be worth 5,000. You don't know. But because they keep all that a secret, all that's kept a secret, they just tell you how many dollars you have. They don't tell you what it's actually worth. It's up for you to determine what it's worth. So because of that, money and the dollar and government-run currencies feel safe because they don't feel like they're susceptible to market factors, which in fact they absolutely 1,000,000% are. We just don't see it. This is the challenge that Bitcoin has because it is completely transparent. When you look at it, and you can look at it in comparison to the euro or to the dollar or whatever. When you look at it, you're seeing this is what a Bitcoin is worth in your currency. This is the real-time value right here. As you can see, it's actually kind of making a move lower. And we'll get into charts in just a second, but I want you to be able to see, in case you want to buy this stuff and do the Christmas trade, which is what the trade that I'm in right now. This is where you're a great place to do it. But you got to move quick because the authentication process to get set up with a Bitstamp account, with a Coinbase account, far more rigorous, way more security protocols than there are to open a bank account, for example. So one of the things there was an aha moment for me with this when I was transferring money from one bank to another. And it took 12 calendar days for that transaction to take place. And it made me realize that, you know what, this way of doing things is super archaic. I mean, it was an ACH transfer. It should not have taken that long. We do direct deposits every payroll. How in the world does it take this long to go in? It is very difficult to move money around. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency solves for that. That's the point. That's what they're trying to do. They're solving for that. If I want to send, Jade, if I want to send you money,
do it.
if I want to send you money, I could pull up my Coinbase account or whatever, and I could pull up a QR code and you could scan it and I could send you the money right away. And then it's done. There's no taxes, there's no bank involved, there's no middleman. I gave you the money just as if I were handing you cash, except I don't have a piece of paper, I have it on my phone or digitally. That's the difference. There's no middleman, there's no tracking, there's privacy. This is one of the reasons why people like it. There's a lot of reasons why people like it, but the privacy is one of them. We all feel like we're being spied on. This, little camera that's on my laptop here, if the NSA wanted to, or a really good hacker, they could hack right into that camera. They could hack into my microphone. They could hack into my phone. All these things are happening in a world now where we're losing privacy. One of the things that's provided by cryptocurrencies is some privacy, the things that you're buying, things that you're doing with your money. You don't have to tell anyone about it. It's between you and the other person you're transacting with, and that's it. So that's very attractive. Keep in mind, internationally, that's super attractive. And it's not just for drug money and all these things that people say, not at all. Of course, that may be part of it, but you can't keep criminals away from, they'll make their own, they'll print their own money or do whatever. You can't worry about those guys. But you have all these things working towards a higher Bitcoin. It's also a huge fuck you. It really is, let's be honest. One of the things that has been a huge trend in the world is, basically just big fuck yous. And this is the biggest one. A lot of people say that Trump getting elected for president was the biggest fuck you in the history of our country. And, you know, maybe that's true. But that's definitely what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is saying, we don't need a government. I don't want to pay taxes. I want to be able to handle things on my own, sans you people getting in my way. That's what this is. And so there's something there too. Now, from an investment perspective, let's talk really quick about the Christmas trade. This is the one I'm in right now. So I'll tell you what I own. I own Bitcoin, I own Litecoin, and I own Ethereum. Those are the three major cryptocurrencies. Actually, Ripple, which is one that I also own that I want to buy more of, those are the top four. And in this game, it is not just about understanding blockchain and that it's going to be the next big thing. Even if you understand that, you still have to pick the winners. It's just like when the internet came out, people were like, the internet, it's definitely the next big thing. It's going to be huge. But if you bought the wrong stocks, they still went to zero. So it's not just about understanding that this is big, this has legs, it's going to grow. It's also about picking the right investments. That's super important. So if you go out and you just buy a bunch of like penny cryptocurrencies, there's a good chance they'll all go to zero. Now, there's probably one or two in that pile of penny cryptocurrencies that's going to become a big deal. Most of them are going to be nothing, or they're going to get gobbled up by the other ones or whatever. But I think if you are in the main ones, the four I mentioned, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, I should say is a fifth, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Ripple. I think all of those have serious legs, serious applications, serious legs, and will be in the future trading much higher than they are today. The Christmas trade, though, if you go back to Thanksgiving and you looked at what happened, it appeared as though we saw people get together for Thanksgiving, Bitcoin's getting tons of press, and someone in the family was into it and started telling other people and was showing them their Coinbase account. Look how much money I have. Look what's happening. And then more people piled in and said, you know what? I want a piece of that. Show me how to do it. How do I buy it? And they got in. And the price went up a lot. I think now through the Christmas holidays, which is next week, by the way, Merry Christmas to you, we're going to see the same thing again, except it's going to be even more magnified, because now instead of just that one curious cousin saying, hey, how do I buy Bitcoin? You're going to have aunts, uncles, grandpas, grandmas. They're going to want to know, how do I get in on this? Everyone's feeling like they're missing out. The other reason why there's legs on this thing is because a lot of people are still naysayers. Remember, bubbles don't burst until everyone has submitted. In the real estate bubble, that's the most recent bubble that we've experienced in this country, it didn't actually pop, it didn't burst until everyone was in on it. In fact, worldwide, Wall Street was selling those mortgage bonds to municipalities all over the world. So until everyone was in and everyone had sort of believed that, all right, real estate, that's where we got to be. Until that happened, the bubble didn't burst. The same thing is with cryptos. The bubble will not burst until everyone is in. And right now, there's still a lot of people, and not when I say everyone, I mean in general. Right now, if you talk about cryptocurrency, about 80% of people are not even in on it. They've heard of it, and they're like, I don't even know what it is. I don't know. I think I missed it. So there are still a lot of people who have not participated yet, which gives us room to believe there is opportunity for it to continue to go higher. So how does this work? Well, essentially, what this is, what Bitcoin is and what all these cryptocurrencies are, is a way for people to do deals sans government, sans taxes, and sans a ledger in a secure, very secure way. It clicked for my dad. So my dad was in town all weekend, and you know, he's asking me tons of questions about it, and I was trying to answer him as best I could. It clicked for him. He's a huge Star Trek Next Generation fan. He said, wait a minute, it just clicked for him. I get it, he said. It's like Star Trek, credits. So for all you Trekkies out there, I think you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't watch Star Trek The Next Generation, then what it was is a futuristic program, you know, life forms all over the universe and things like that. Well, in Star Trek Next Generation, they had credits. So if you needed to buy something for someone, you would go there and you would say, okay, I want to buy that. And they'd say, okay, it's 140 credits. And you would just, through your voice, you would say, all right, I'll pay you 140 credits. And the computer would take the credits from your account and put it in that person's account. And so when he realized, like, wait a minute, that's what this is? Yes, that's what this is. This is a way of creating potentially a global currency where everyone can be on the same page. And that's actually one of the things I really like about Ripple. Everyone can be on the same page about this is what the currency is. And Bitcoin is the first possibility for that. Now, will that happen? I don't know. I actually don't think so, but it could. And if that were to happen, a lot of things would change that would be very, very good for you if you own Bitcoin. So, credits. Think about it that way. When people say Bitcoins, you think of a coin, and then it doesn't make sense. Or when you say blockchain, think about it like this. When you buy Bitcoin, you're not buying a coin. You're buying a digital piece of real estate. So picture it like a lot. Like you're buying a lot to build a house on, but it's digital. It's on a computer instead. But that lot on that computer has the functionality and has the ability for people to pay one another without there being any middleman or any visibility. Now, without getting too technical, like you could, for example, you could take a picture of a check that you want to deposit. In fact, I did this just the other day. I wanted to try it. Okay, I need to deposit a check. Pulled up the check, pulled up my app, took a picture of it, deposited it. It took several days for the funds to actually go in, but it worked. That's no different. That's the same thing as what we have with Bitcoin, except that's much more archaic. There's paper involved, there's wait time involved, there's a bank involved. If it's a big enough amount, now you're going to have the FBI or whoever it is that investigates those transactions. They're going to be involved. However, if that person, instead of writing a check, had just said, here, let me send you Bitcoin. What do I owe you? $1,000? Okay, here you go. Boom. It'd be done in seconds. So, and the transaction is done. Now you might think to yourself, why do we need that kind of speed? What's the point of all that speed? Well, that speed is actually security. And you know this. Think about it this way. If you deposited a big check and you sat there and you looked and you saw it, it's pending, you're holding on to that receipt. You want to make sure that you get that money. So you have to check the account every day. When is it going to be in there? When is it going to be in there? When is it going to be in there? That's kind of stressful, right? What if instead of that, you could just go boom, boom, up, it's there instantly. Now that would be a lot less stress. Now imagine you're not just an individual. Imagine you're an enormous organization. Imagine that you are a church or Amazon or some retail person or a street vendor. I actually think street vendors, which are huge internationally, not as big here in the States, I think street vendors, this is the best thing in the world for them. Because think about what they're playing a cash game. So they're a perfect target for thieves. They don't have bank accounts. They have to hold on to their money. All these things going on. I'll get to your question in just a second, Mike, or your comment. All these things are going on that you don't have to worry about if you're able to take it in via digital. And that's where I think the big upside is that once this, now there's a roadblock, we discussed it. The roadblock is the transparency with Bitcoin. If you were getting paid, if your paycheck was in Bitcoin, you would see there's a lot of volatility. But I promise you that same volatility exists with your $10,000 in your savings account. You just don't see it. That is the big divide. That is the thing that Bitcoin needs to overcome if it's going to really get to $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a coin. Mike, thanks for the comment. He said that except Bitcoin has been taking about a half a day to transmit these days, not instantly, still a lot better than several days with our standard banking system. Yeah, I haven't experienced that. Mike, it's maybe it's because I've done smaller tests. I don't know how much you're sending or if they're slowing down certain ones. But there has been a tremendous amount of activity, and that could be, but the transaction is taking place instantaneously. Whether it shows up there immediately or not could be different, but definitely way better than the banking system. And keep in mind, this is first generation blockchain. Bitcoin is not backed yet by any major banks or international banks. However, Ripple is. So let's take a look at some of the price action, Jade. Let's pull this up. So this is from bitstamp.net. I just opened an account here that's unverified. You can open an account and you can look at this stuff pretty easily. If you want to buy this stuff, though, then you got to go through a rigorous verification process. We can actually quickly look at this one here, Bitcoin Investment Trust, which was a security that I recommended a few weeks ago. As you can see, it has done nothing but go higher. We recommended it right about here at 1,500, 1,300, 1,400, right in there. And so we caught a double in that. If you participated, congratulations. This is what Bitcoin looks like right now. The really cool thing about this platform is that when you do want to trade, you have the ability to put in limit orders. You have the ability to put in stop limits. You can say, all right, hey, I want to buy it right here, but if it goes down below this number right here, then I want to get out because I don't want to lose any more money than that. And if it spikes up and hits this number right here, I want to sell so I can take my profits. So you can do all that stuff right here on this side. And I haven't found one that's this comprehensive and has this kind of charting. So this right here is the 30-minute chart, which is what they default to. I don't really like that one. I like the 1 hour, or the daily. And you can just kind of see what's happening with the price action here on Bitcoin. And it actually looks like it's in a position where it will probably bounce higher or really close to it. It won't go much lower before it bounces higher. There's a lot of support right at this horizontal number right here, which is basically 18,000. So there's a lot of support right there. So this will probably go higher for the day. But this is allowing people to be able to, if they want to, day trade this thing. It's allowing people to see price action and maybe determine if it's a good time to exit. I will tell you this: if you bought in early and you got these really cheap, you got them at $400 or $500 or $200 or $100 or whatever, sell some, take some profits here. It's okay. No one ever went broke taking a profit. Sell a couple. Hey, I think it's going higher too, and I'll tell you, still sell a couple because it's nice to put some money in the bank, have some profits, and be playing with the house's money. It's always fun to do that. So this thing, I do think that we could see Bitcoin at 25,000 before the end of the year. I do think it could get there because remember, there's a limited amount of them, and the Christmas trade is on. I do think that's going to work. Bitcoin is first generation. The technology isn't as complex as some of the ones that have come since, but it has all the marketing and everything, and that's the one that everyone's paying attention to. So that's Bitcoin. I definitely own Bitcoin. The next one, Ethereum. We'll take a look at this one. Ethereum is very interesting because it has a lot of applications, and it's actually being used a lot on a daily basis. So Ripple and Ethereum are the two most widely used on a daily basis. And I mean used in actual transactions. Ethereum is at a lower price point here. As you see, it's at $830 some per coin. But look at this chart. I want to show you something. This is really important. Now, I have traded stocks and all sorts of things for many, many, many years. And if you look at this chart right here, see these three candles? I wonder if I can zoom in on that. See these three candles? Can you see it, Jade? These candles right here. So these are candlesticks. And you see those wicks? We call them wicks. They're sticking out. So right here is like the base of the candle. And then here's the wick that's sticking out at the bottom. Whenever you see, look at these four right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whenever there's a big wick at the bottom of the candle, that shows you that buyers really won the battle. Like the people who are selling in that zone there got crushed, and it happened 4 or 5 times in a row pretty much. Even though the price closed lower in some of these, look at those wicks right there, just right in this area here. It really shows you that this thing should go higher. And then again, another one right here, and then another one right here. I'm really expecting Ethereum to go a lot higher. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of chatter about Ethereum being one of the first ones to be integrated by a government agency. There's almost no press on this one. That's the thing. Like it's Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. No one's really talking about Ethereum. And it has a lot more applications. It is a much more complex and a better piece of technology than Bitcoin is, but it just doesn't have the marketing right now that Bitcoin does. But if you look at the charts, undeniable that it looks like this thing wants to go higher. And it bounced very nicely off of that support line right there multiple times. So, and has gone higher since, but I'm really expecting Ethereum to do extremely well. This is the one I am the most excited about of all the ones that I personally own. So I also am going to post underneath this a little snapshot that kind of explains the different major cryptos, including a couple that I'm not in, just so that you can kind of do some research on your own if you don't have a lot of time right now. I understand it's the middle of the day on a Tuesday. Okay, and then Litecoin. Now Litecoin, this one is, it's a very sore spot for me because I'm going to change to the 1 hour chart here. Because I tried to buy this thing at $93 and had trouble with my app, and I wasn't able to get in until a much higher price, so it's kind of frustrating. But if you look at this one, again, tons of support, establishing new highs. You look at the horizontal line here, look at the support right here. Again, the wicks will show you that this thing is leading to a much higher price, and this is, I believe, an all-time high up here for it, but it looks like it's leading to, again, a much higher price and probably a new high. So this one is very exciting because, again, tons of applications, maybe more applications even than Ethereum, more widely used, but it was designed to be a little bit, different than Bitcoin, but still have a lot of the same applications as Bitcoin. Once again, you're not hearing anyone talk about Litecoin. Not on the news, it's not getting the press. At $360, per coin, I think it's a steal. These other ones, I think, between like Ethereum and Litecoin, I think they will be trading at around the same price as Bitcoin eventually. Oh, dude, nice job, Mike. He got 6 Litecoins at $33. You're a stud. You're killing it right now. Take some profits. You can sell one and have a profit on the whole trade and then have 5 free Litecoins. That's freaking awesome. I love that so much. Being able to play with the house's money is like the best. Okay, so that's Litecoin, and I'm not going to get too much into the technicals, but it's very exciting technology. There's a lot of opportunity there. And then this one is the most interesting. This is Ripple. I still don't know why they default to the 30-minute. No, who looks at a 30-minute chart? That's 1 hour. You know what? I'm going to zoom out even further on this one. As you can see, we're consolidating and establishing a new price point for Ripple here. I'm going to do the 1 day. I'm going to look at the daily chart. Okay, so here's a daily chart for Ripple. Now, you can see down here, this was kind of the trading range, was from like 30 cents to like 16 cents. And it sort of traded in that range for quite some time, from October all the way through to middle of December. And then it broke out here. Why did it break out? Got some press. Simply got some press. There's some people pushing it out there who are like, you know what, this thing could be cool. Now, this is what's really interesting about Ethereum. Still today, even after this press, 77 cents is the price point. And now understand though, don't say, oh man, well, I got to put everything into this one because it's so much cheaper, I can get more shares. There are way more shares outstanding. So with Bitcoin, that's like a maxes out at like 21 million shares. With Ripple, it maxes out at like 38 billion shares, okay? So that's the reason why the price is lower. So don't just assume that is all equal amongst these different cryptos. It definitely matters. Now, one of the things you can tell, remember the reverse of what we just learned about these candlesticks, see how the wicks are sticking up on the top? That usually indicates a lower price point. But if you'll notice here, right at this number, we see a lot of closing and openings happening right at this number right here. So the battle's really happening right here. And if we zoom back out to the 1 hour, we can probably see that battle in a little bit more. You see this? This is that battle zoomed in. It's between here and here. But it's establishing a new normal. That's what these are. And so most likely, if this follows technical analysis patterns, this range here that we're in, it will consolidate for a while, and then usually these things continue to move in the direction they were moving. So that would mean it's going to consolidate, go sideways, and kind of establish this new price point, and then it will continue to go higher from there. This one's really interesting. I think everyone should know this one. This is the most used coin of all of them on a daily basis. 600,000 plus transactions a day are used with Ripple. It is endorsed by major international banks, multiple, and hedge funds who fund exclusively in this. So there are a lot of people on this Ripple train. And the applications for this are huge. And the main reason that I like this one, it's my second favorite next to Ethereum, but the main reason I like this one is because it is taking direct aim at the entire international currency exchange marketplace, taking direct aim at it. You know, when you travel internationally, you look at TravelX, you're exchanging currency, you're exchanging from this to that, from dollars to that. You get absolutely taxed to hell whenever you do that. And it's really an annoying process. It's very difficult, sucks. They are taking direct aim at that and going to set it up so that you can easily exchange, very inexpensively, you can exchange your currencies using the Ripple technology and using the Ripple coins. And they have set this up in such a way that I expect it to completely take over that industry, completely take it over. And the only possibility that like the TravelX companies and those that they have will be to buy Ripple. And I think it's worth too much money now. What is it? It's 38 billion outstanding and it's at 80 cents. So yeah, they're going to need tens of billions of dollars to pull that off, even if Ripple would be okay with it. And it'd be something they'd just probably shelf, right? Because they don't want to do it for cheaper, spend $30 billion and then do it for less, you know? So most likely that won't happen. That'd be the only way. I think this one goes much, much higher. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we were talking about this one in 2 or 3 years and it's hundreds of dollars. I think that's totally possible because of the fact that it is the most used of all of them right now. And there's something to be said for that, being game tested like that. I know there's Bitcoin ATMs out there. I know there's other things like that going on. But you know, this one is really being used. And it's being used by big institutions. Okay, so why it will go higher. And when I say it, I mean cryptos. Specifically, I'm talking about Bitcoin. Let's go back to Bitcoin, which has lost a little bit of ground, I think, since we were last looking at it. Let's get out of this 30-minute view and go to the 1 hour. Gives you a little bit bigger picture in the zoom out. It's still holding at a kind of a key support level there. There are lots of skeptics. Not everyone is in yet. A lot of people you talk to still think it's foo-foo, and I did too for a long time. The price has only been this high for so long, and many people have lots of profit. So, you know, you don't have desperate sellers. That's the thing. You don't have desperate sellers, a lot of them. You don't have a lot of desperate sellers. Most people don't even want to sell their Bitcoins. I know I don't. And so when you have that kind of situation, who's in there making these transactions? Well, now it's mostly traders. You have futures. You have things like that going on. But most people aren't touching their coins because most people are buying the coins with money that's sort of play money. They're just buying it because they expect, oh, maybe it'll go to $1 million and I'll be rich. Okay, that's why most people are buying it yet. So we don't have, it's not flimsy enough yet. As soon as it's flimsy enough, Wall Street will knock it down, trust me. The biggest reason, though, is because this is a huge FU to the banks, to the government. This is a beacon of independence. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, what it stands for, what it means independence. It means we don't need you. Stop messing with us. You know, we just want to do our own thing. We don't want you to tax us. We don't want you to have your eyeballs in everything we're doing. We don't want to have all these things out in the open. We want to be private. We want to put our money where we want to put our money. We want to do things the way we want to do them. And that's what this is, and that's what it represents. And because of that, I think there's a huge opportunity for more people to get behind it once they understand what it is. Remember, most people still don't even understand what it is. And I have to be honest with you, to the full extent, I don't. There's way more applications here than I understand. But the ones that I do understand are good enough for me to get excited about it. And I was a humongous skeptic for a very long time. It wasn't until so many people asked me about it that I decided I had to go figure out when it was going to crash. That is when I started looking into and seeing what the applications were and seeing why so many people were excited about it. Because remember, in other countries, things aren't as stable as they are here. We're kind of late adopters with regard to this. A lot of the cryptocurrencies are coming out of China or other countries where they trust the government way less than we trust ours, you know, and they want privacy. People want privacy, especially when it comes to their money. Right now, there's no way to get that. There's just no way. if anyone wants to come and look at your stuff, then they will. Here's the big thing that most people are afraid of and what they think is the biggest risk to this. If government regulation comes in, if it's the case that they say, hey, you can't do this anymore, which I don't know how they would, because essentially you're just buying a computer chip from someone. That's what it is. It's just a computer chip. I don't know how they would regulate that. But if they came in and said that you can't do this somehow, that's the big concern. However, I think that could possibly fuel it much higher. Because ultimately, if the government comes in and tries to stop you from doing the thing that you're doing because it's anti-government, what do you think people are going to do? Do you think they're going to run away? Or do you think they're going to run right towards it? That's the question. And I'm not sure, but I think they might run right towards it. So if it's the case that you are not invested in coins, but you want to be, what should you do? I'm going to give you a very simple plan on what you can do if you want to get into the Christmas trade the same way that I am. I would suggest buying all 4 of them. Let's say you have $400. You want to invest $400. Remember, you can buy fractions of coins. You want to invest $400. Okay, buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, buy $100 worth of Ripple, buy $100 worth of Litecoin, and buy $100 worth of Ethereum, and then forget about it. Now, once in it, especially if it's $400, then just forget about it. Just forget about it, let them run, see what happens. If you want to take a little more risk, you want to put in 4,000 or 40,000, I don't know what your risk tolerance is, but you want to put in more, do the same thing, divide it up. But if you're going to take on more risk, just remember, important, prudent investment advice always is to protect your money, to lose as little as possible. So when you see that you've doubled your money, take your cost basis out, put it back in your bank, and play with the house's money. This is the key to understanding speculation and investments. Take your profit off the table, at least take your cost basis out once you have it in there, once you have a double, sell half of it, and then you got free coins that they can go to zero or they could go to $1 gazillion and it won't make any difference to you. That's the way to play this thing. So whatever your risk tolerance is, get that number figured out, spread it out amongst those 4 major coins, the 4 biggest ones, and just forget about it for a minute. Now, especially if you're signed up with this site, Bitstamp, you can set a sell order. So for example, if you bought Bitcoin right here at 18,000, you could put a sell order in. Let's say you bought 0.1 coin. You could say, you know what, I'm going to sell 0.05 coins when it hits 36,000. You can actually put that order in and leave it there, and just leave it there. You see the price action down here in the lower left? It's kind of crazy to watch, right? If you had to see your checking account move like that, it'd be pretty stressful, right? That is the only big hurdle I see with Bitcoin, is that the market is so transparent, and because you can see the risk in it, whereas you don't see that in your bank account. And that's where the banks have an advantage. But the banks are slow, the government is slow. Will they adopt this? Will they, what would happen if the United States government said, you know what, we get it. We believe in this, it makes sense, this is what people want, we want to adopt it. And they go and they grab Ethereum, which is actually something that's been discussed. They go and they say, you know what, we're going to use Ethereum as our basis. And it's going to be international and blah, 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 blah. What would happen? Madness. It'd be crazy amazing. It would be so huge for people invested in it. But will that ever happen? Which one will they pick? Will that be 10 generations from now? It's a coin that doesn't even exist yet. Will they make their own coin from scratch and say, this is what we're using now. We're using blockchain, but we're going to use this coin. These investments could go to zero if that happens. So remember there's risk. Remember to be careful with your money. And most importantly, if you don't understand something, don't put a lot of money into it. But if you like the price action and you think it will go higher, which I do, then get in the game. Just get in for what you can tolerate and have an exit strategy planned ahead of time. All right, Mike, I appreciate your comments. That's it for this quick update on Bitcoin and what's going on in cryptocurrency. More to come in the future. We appreciate you watching. See you soon.